ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। प्रातः स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत् स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवेति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। तपोभीक्षीणपापाणां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते। बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनं पाकस्य वह्निव ज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति। अविरोधा कर्म विद्यां विनिवर्तेत् विद्या विहन्त्येव तेजस्मित् तेजस्तिमिरसंभवत्। परिच्छिन्नैव ज्ञानात् तन्नाशे सति केवलः स्वयं प्रकाशते ह्यात्मा मेघापायेषुमानिव। अज्ञानकलुषं जीवं ज्ञानाभ्यासाद् विनिर्मलं कृत्वा ज्ञानं स्वयं नश्ये जलं कतकरेणुवत्। संसारस्वप्नतुल्यो हि रागद्वेषादिसङ्कुलः स्वकाले सत्यवद्भाति प्रबोधे सत्यसद्भवेत्। तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम्। उपादानेऽखिलाधारे जगन्ति परमेश्वरे सर्गस्थितिलयान्यायी बुद्बुदानि वारिणि सच्चिदात्मन्यनुस्यूते नित्ये विष्णौ प्रकल्पिताः व्यक्तयो विविधा सर्वा आटके कटकादिवत्। यथाकाशो ऋषिकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभुः तद्भेदाभिन्नवद्भाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत्। नानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्तो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत्। पञ्चीकृतमहाभूतः सम्भवं कर्म सञ्चितं शरीरं सुखदुःखानां भोगायतनमुच्यते। पंच प्राणमनो बुद्धिः दशेन्द्रियसमन्वितम् अपञ्चीकृतभूतोत्थं सूक्ष्मांगं भोगसाधनम्। अनाद्यविद्या निर्वाच्या कारणोपाधिरुच्यते उपाधित्रितयादन्यम् आत्मानमवधारयेत्। पञ्चकोशादियोगेन ततन्मयैव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादियोगेन स्फटिको यथा। वपुस्तुषाभिः कोशैः युक्त्यावद्वघातः आत्मानमन्तरं शुद्धं विविच्यात्तण्डं यथा। सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्धावेवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत्। देहेन्द्रियमनो बुद्धिः प्रकृतेभ्यो विलक्षणं तद्वृत्तिसाक्षिणं विद्यात् आत्मानं राजवत्सदा। व्यापृतेष्विन्द्रियेष्वात्मा व्यापारी वा विवेकिनां दृश्यते भ्रेषु धावत्सु धावन्निव यथा शशी। आत्मचैतन्यमाश्रित्य देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते सूर्यलोकं यथा। देहेन्द्रियगुणान् कर्मान् यमले सच्चिदात्मनि अध्यस्यन्त्यविवेकेन गगने नीलतादिवत्। अज्ञानान्मानसोपाधे कर्तृत्वादीनि चात्मनि कल्प्यन्तेऽम्बुगते चन्द्रे चलनादि यथाम्बसः। रागेच्छा सुख दुःखादि बुद्धौ सत्यां प्रवर्तते सुषुप्तौ नास्ति तन्नाशे तस्मात् बुद्धेस्तु नात्मनः। प्रकाशोऽर्कस्य तो यस्य शैत्यमग्नेर्यथोष्णता स्वभावसच्चिदानन्दः नित्यनिर्मलता निर्मलतात्मनः। आत्मनः सच्चिदंशश्च बुद्धेर्वृत्तिर्द्वयं संयोज्य विवेकेन जानाति प्रवर्तते। I think we had completed 27, right? I will just go through the Pratipadartha from 26 onwards. Atmano vikriya nastihi buddhir bodho na jatviti Jiva sarvamalam gyatva gyata drishteti muhyati. I think 25th. We did till 25th, right? Anybody can help me to just recall. We did till 25th, 26th. 26 also, I just go through Pratipadartha. Atmanaha for the self, vikriya, action, na, not, asti, is. Buddhehe for the intellect, bodha, capacity to experience intelligence, na, not. Jatu, at all, iti, thus. Jivaha, the individuality, sarvam, everything, alam, enough. Gyatva, knowing, gyata, the knower, drishta, the seer, iti, thus, muhyati, deludes. Atmanah vikriya na asti, buddhehe bodha na jatu iti, jivaha sarvam alam gyatva gyata drishta iti muhyati. Atman never does anything, and the intellect of its own accord has no capacity to experience I know. But the individuality in us delusorily thinks he is himself, the seer and the knower. I repeat, Atman never does anything, and the intellect of its own accord has no capacity to experience I know, but the individuality in us delusorily thinks he is himself the seer and the knower. I will just bring to your notice the last verse what we did. It's Pratipada just. By the indiscriminate blending of the two, the existence knowledge aspect of the self and the thought wave of the intellect, there arises the notion of I know. I repeat, by the indiscriminate blending of the two, the existence knowledge aspect of the self and the thought wave of the intellect, there arises the notion of I know. And I had seen yesterday, the two cannot exist at the same time. It is only the one self. Anger, knowledge, etc. are all characteristics of the mind, and they are thus attributed to the Atman due to lack of discrimination. The nature of the Atman in reality is Sat Chit Ananda, and this eternal self does not undergo any change even when the individual experiences anger, pain, pleasure, etc. in his mind. We go to the next. Here in this verse, I repeat again the Pratipartha. Atman never does anything, and the intellect of its own accord has no capacity to experience I know. But the individuality in us delusorily thinks he is himself the seer and the knower. Human intellect by itself is not endowed with the powers of feeling, thinking, willing, or wishing because it is a product of matter which is inert and insentient. A bulb in itself has no without it being wedded to the electric current. Atman is knowledge itself, and it is not affected by the mental thoughts and physical actions. The individuality, jiva, which is a reflection of the pure consciousness in the mind, in its ignorance, avidya, of its true nature, falsely identifies itself with the body, mind, intellect, equipment, and it comes to superimpose the characteristics of the true self on these insentient matter envelopments. In this way, The delusion that one is a seer, knower, etc. arises in the ego, all because of a false notion in himself. The substratum for all these changing phenomena is that changeless Atman. This world of plurality with different names and forms seems to rise and fall like waves on the ocean. It is an illusion experienced upon that substratum, Adhisthana, painted by the fancy of the confused ego. Just as the waves are in and of the ocean only, and they do not stand even for a moment apart from the oceanic waters. So also the entire waves of creation is in and of that absolute supreme and have no separate existence in themselves. This supreme being is Atman who stands ever unaffected, least by the changes caused in the arena of time, space, and causality. The illuminating consciousness, because of which there is an awareness of the various objects and activities of the inner mind, is that supreme reality. Thus, though waves after waves of sorrow, dejection, despair, joy, success, anger, jealousy, or passion may come in the mind, he who knows the knower of these waves is not affected by them. Why should the sun dim because of the tragedies he is illumining, or glow the brighter where he is illumining a joyous scene? The self I am illumining my mental conditions. I know I am happy or unhappy, but these are the mental waves that I am illumining. I am the light of consciousness. None of the conditions of the mind is me. This is the constant wisdom of the wise man. So beautiful. So this is the takeaway.
Can you read this, the self I am, one more time? Balaji?
Yeah, the previous verse, you mean 26th verse?
No, just the last part, that the self I am that you just read.
Yeah, okay. The illuminating consciousness, because of which there is an awareness of the various objects and activities of the inner mind, is that supreme reality. Thus, though waves after waves of sorrow, dejection, despair, joy, success, anger, jealousy, or passion may come in the mind, he who knows the knower of these waves is not affected by them. Why should the sun dim because of the tragedies he is illumining, or glow the brighter where he is illumining a joyous scene? The self I am illumining my mental conditions. I know I am happy or unhappy, but these are the mental waves that I am illumining. I am the light of consciousness. None of the conditions of the mind is me. This is the constant wisdom of the wise man. So it is just like that projection screen, the substratum, or that is the base or medium on which the whole film is projected. The screen is never affected by the film, whether the scene of tragedy or the film of love or the film of disappointment. The screen never gets affected. Even the scene of war doesn't change. So we have to remember that nothing, they are all the waves in the ocean. The ocean remains same. The Akhanda Satchitananda Swarupa. Anyone would like to contribute or want me to reread? Please unmute and tell me. Because there is again the constant message, unstable internet. Shall we move ahead? Or you want me to repeat any verse? Please let me know.
No, I am fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Rajju sarvadatmanam jivo jnatva bhayam vahet naham jiva paratmeti Gyatasche nirbhayo bhavet. So beautiful. Rajju sarpavat, like a serpent in a rope. Atmanam, oneself. Jivaha, the ego. Gyatva, considering. Bhayam, fear. Vahet, carries or is overcome. Na, not. Aham, I. Jivaha, the individuality or the ego. Paratma, the supreme self, iti, thus, gyatah, having understood, chet, if, nirbhayah, fearless, bhaveta, can be. Rajju sarpavata atmanam jivah gyatva bhayam vahet na aham jivah paratma iti gyatah chet nirbhayah bhavet. Just as the person who regards a rope as a snake is overcome by fear, so also one considering oneself as the ego, jiva, is overcome by fear. The egocentric individuality in us regains fearlessness by realizing that it is not a jiva, but is itself the supreme soul. I repeat, just as the person who regards a rope as a snake is overcome by fear, so also one considering oneself as the ego, jiva, is overcome by fear. The egocentric individuality in us regains fearlessness by realizing that it is not a jiva, but it is itself the supreme soul. The superimposition of a snake vision on a rope takes place only when the existence of the rope is perceived. Once a misapprehension starts, it multiplies itself in its own imagination into 1,000 baseless notions, and the individual under his own delusions suffers the consequences thereof, just as the vision of the snake gives us perceptions of the details of the snake, the pain of its bite, the fear of the death that will be caused by the snake on the rope. This is so beautiful. I repeat once again the paragraph. Please pay attention. The superimposition of a snake vision on a rope takes place only when the existence of the rope is not perceived. Once a misapprehension starts, it multiplies itself in its own imaginations into 1,000 baseless notions, and the individual under his own delusions suffers the consequences thereof. Just as the vision of the snake gives us perceptions of the details of the snake, the pain of its bite, the fear of the death that will be caused by the snake on the rope. In the non-apprehension of the self, the misapprehension of the gross physical body, mind, etc. are perceived as real. And in this misunderstanding, the confused ego is born to suffer its own illusory sorrows. We are not the limited individuality as we take ourselves to be. There is a limitless region of experience beyond what is known at present, and this is shut out from us because of our self-centered existence. When the realization of the true nature of the self comes to one, even as mere theoretical knowledge, he who was till then in a perpetual state of fear and sorrow seems to wake up from his own limited existence and rediscovers himself to be the blissful self which is all pervading and eternal. It is very beautiful takeaway. Please remember, Naham kinchidagnyah, Naham alpagnyah, Aham Satchidananda Rupa Eva. I will just repeat this paragraph. In the non-apprehension of the self, the misapprehension of the gross physical body, mind, etc. are perceived as real. And in this misunderstanding, the confused ego is born to suffer its own illusory sorrows. We are not the limited individuality as we take ourselves to be. There is a limitless region of experience beyond what is known at present, and this is shut out from us because of our self-centered existence. When the realization of the true nature of the self comes to one, even as mere theoretical knowledge, he who was till then in a perpetual state of fear and sorrow seems to wake up from his own limited existence and rediscovers himself to be the blissful self which is all pervading and eternal. Anyone would like to share? Please share. These are very, very beautiful verses. If
So
and when,
yeah,
yeah.
I just wanted to give an example of like in the uh, the upadhis which we the jiva, it has that consciousness, but that he has that upadhis attached to it, because of which he thinks himself to be different from the Ishvara. Just like the wave, until unless it will think that it is not a part of ocean, it will consider itself to be an independent wave of the ocean, and it will exclude itself from the ocean. But once the wave get over this thought that it is the part of ocean, then it will be like the same water, the same ocean.
Yeah, it is so beautiful. It will rejoice in its existence.
But this is about the Rajya Sarpa, right?
Yeah.
Can you go back to that
So
sloka, please?
it is like, I just gave an example like how the misapprehension of the gross physical body mind, like the jiva, it attach itself with the upadhis. That's why he thinks himself to be different because of that ignorance, and due to that he suffers his own illusory sorrows. The ego is born, and because he is differentiating himself from the Ishvara, that's why there is ego, and that's why there is sorrow.
Yeah, they are all illusory. I mean, due to delusion that it is the snake, he has visualized all the fears that if the snake will bite. In fact, he has not realized the substratum, which is the medium on which everything, the whole existence is there. Yeah, you want me to read the shloka, Dr. Mara? Rajju sarpavadatmanam jivo gyatva bhayam vahet naham jiva paratmeti gyatasche nirbhayo bhavet. Just as
Yes.
the
Yeah,
person
thank you.
who regards a rope as a snake is overcome by fear, so also one considering oneself as the ego, jiva, is overcome by fear. The egocentric individuality in us regains fearlessness by realizing that it is not a jiva, but it's itself the supreme soul. So once that realization comes that it is the substratum, the medium on which the whole creation is there, then there is no fear. There is no limited identity.
Yeah.
So once the knowledge of all pervading and eternal, even if at theoretical level, Swamiji has beautifully mentioned, even though you have not got an experience, but even as theoretical knowledge, you still will become fearless. You still will be rediscovering yourself to be the blissful self, which is all pervading and eternal.
That is very, very true, whereas correct. Even knowledge
Yes.
itself is
And thereafter, there is an outward cognition of any experience, such as Mahatman of self-realization, cannot but see the same matter equipments of experiences which were before his own, singing the eternal song of life. I will read once again. If and when thereafter there is an outward cognition of any experience, such as Mahatman of self-realization, cannot but see the same matter equipments of experiences which were before his own, singing the eternal song of life. So once that knowledge comes that I am that vast ocean, there will be no limiting fears.
It's just like when we are in small mind, the same happens. We get deluded away and we are into so many thoughts of other person, or wrong. We go the wrong way, and our mind clutters and we are in pain and sorrow. And as soon as we come into a big mind thinking it the other way, we just dissolve.
Correct. Yeah, that is so beautiful. आत्मावभासयत्येको बुद्ध्यादीनीन्द्रियाण्यपि दीपो घटादिवत् स्वात्मा जडैस्तैर्नावभास्यते. Atma, the self, avabhasayati, illumines. Ekah, single. Buddhayadini, intellect, etc. Indriyani, sense organs, api, also. Deepah, lamp. Ghatadivat, like the pots, etc. Swatma, itself. Jadaihi, inert. Taihi, by themselves. Na, not. Avabhasyate, illumined. Atma avabhasayati ekah buddhayadini indriyani api deepah ghatadivat svatma jadaihi taihi na avabhasyate. Just as the lamp illumines a jar or pot, so also the Atman illumines the mind and the sense organs, etc. These material objects by themselves cannot illumine themselves because they are inert. I repeat once again, please remember this throughout the day for our that tambura like manana. Just as a lamp illumines a jar or pot, so also the Atman illumines the mind and the sense organs, etc. These material objects by themselves cannot illumine themselves because they are inert. So all the equipments of our sense organs, they are just inerts. They cannot have any existence of their own. They are able to we are able to see because of the seer. We are able to hear because of the listener, that supreme self. The street lamp is a silent, unperturbed witness of all that happens under its light. Whether it is a marriage procession or a funeral march, the light, unmoved by the feelings of joy or sorrow, sheds its glow on all those that come under it. The street lamp is a silent, unperturbed witness of all that happens under its light. Whether it is a marriage procession or a funeral march, the light, unmoved by the feelings of joy or sorrow, sheds its glow on all those that come under it. The postman is unconcerned with the nature and contents of the communication he delivers to the addressee. In fact, we ourselves are unconcerned with the different experiences of a co-passenger when we get into a train or bus, and we never consider his loss or gain as our own, although we may sympathize with his lot and help him. The sorrow is only illumined by us. The self in us is the one illuminating factor, the pure awareness, which alone illumines both the good and the bad in us at all times. What mind does not comprehend, but what makes the mind cognize, know that to be Brahman and not what people worship. There is a footnote. Refers Swamiji's discourses on Kenopanishad. So I will repeat once again. In fact, we ourselves are unconcerned with the different experiences of a co-passenger when we get into a train or bus, and we never consider his loss or gain as our own, although we may sympathize with his lot and help him. I think there is a typo arrow. With his loss and help him. The sorrow is only illumined by us. The self in us is the one illuminating factor, the pure awareness which alone illumines both the good and the bad in us at all times. What mind does not comprehend, but what makes the mind cognize, know that to be Brahman and not what people worship. Says the Upanishad, the one power on account of which the physical activities and the mental yearnings and intellectual throbbings become vivid and living for us. The matter combinations may vary in their endless variety, in their strength, vitality, and energy, but the one spirit which through all these different manifestations of matter does not change at all is the one and only glory which gives the glitter of a show to the entire Jagat, a lively show indeed. So beautiful. So the whole Jagat is a lively show of that one illuminating light, which is pure awareness. And we are that. Anyone would like to share?
In this particular one, like they gave the simile about the street light. which eliminates whatever is happening on the street, either it's a joyful event or a sad event. Like that, the our true nature, the Atma is eliminating whatever happens in the mind. It's a sad mm, or
Joyful.
happy, yeah, event and things like that.
Yeah. And it remains unattached. That is,
Unattached, yeah.
yes, that
Yeah.
is to be, yeah, very beautiful.
Did we read that? I don't remember exactly where. That formless Nirakara,
No, I
Nirguna.
think that will come ahead.
Oh, it will come. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Nirmala and all that. Changeless eternity and all that.
yeah. I think that will come ahead. I don't remember exactly. I hope it was not in Tattva Bodh.
Yeah, it was in Tattvabodh. That's where I read. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Can you
Vavo-
read last few
yeah,
lines? So sorry.
yeah, yeah. I will read her.
The matter
In
combinations.
yeah, okay. I will read the whole paragraph, the last paragraph. The self in us is the one illuminating factor, the pure awareness which alone illumines both the good and the bad in us at all times. What mind does not comprehend, but what makes the mind cognize, know that to be Brahman and not what people worship. This is a line from the Swamiji has said that it is from the Kenopanishad. Says the Upanishad, the one power on account of which the physical activities and the mental yearnings and intellectual throbbings become vivid and living for us. The matter combinations may vary in their endless variety, in their strength, vitality, and energy, but the one spirit which through all these different manifestations of matter does not change at all is the one and only glory which gives the glitter of a show to the entire Jagat, a lively show indeed.
Thank you, Didi.
That is such a beautiful takeaway and such a beautiful when we see the whole Jagat as that one light, the whole creation, which is illumined by that supreme consciousness.
So Gurudev
Yeah,
says,
I don't, Jagat is a mithya, right? I mean, it's watching it, like it's seeing it. The way the street light is watching all the things that's happening. This,
Yes,
yeah, it's a seer.
it is time bound. The whole Jagat is time bound. So it is whatever is time bound is all mithya. It is just play and display.
sound and light show. You know?
Yes. And then that wow feeling comes, isn't it? That wonderment.
Yes, absolutely. Then you become just relax and sit and see the sound and light show, enjoy without getting,
Yeah. Yeah, I think in Tattvabodha, Swamiji had given beautiful example that we have to watch this whole show as a spectator. But what happens? We suppose we have taken part in the drama as a beggar, and we forget that the show is over, and we continue with that the same bowl in our hand even when we go outside the stage. We continue begging, we forget that it was just a role we were given. Vabodhenanya bodhecha बोधरूपतयात्मनः न दीपस्यान्यदीपेच्छा यथा स्वात्मप्रकाशने. Swabodhe, to know itself, not anya bodhecha, need for other knowledge. Bodha rupataya, because this form is knowledge itself. Atma, one's own. Na, not deepasya, for a lamp. Anya deepecha, need for another lamp. Yatha, just as svatma prakashane, to illumine itself. Please let me know, there is constant notification that your internet is unstable. So please let me know if you want me to read once again. Swabodhe na anya bodhecha bodharupataya atmanah na deepasya anya deepecha yatha svatma prakashane. A lighted lamp does not need another lamp to illumine its light. So too, Atman, which is knowledge itself, needs no other knowledge to know it. I read once again. A lighted lamp does not need another lamp to illumine its light. So too, Atman, which is knowledge itself, needs no other knowledge to know it. Light is necessary to see the furniture in the dark room of a house. But to see the very light which illumines the furniture, do we require any other light? We do not call for the aid of any other light to see the very sun that illumines all the objects in the world, because the sun itself is illumination complete. To understand, realize, and experience the self, the illuminating light in all our experiences, in fact, in all beings at all times, no other light is necessary, because this self alone is the real, and this self alone lights up the knowledge of the entire creation, known and unknown. This self is the all-awareing consciousness absolute. I read once again the whole paragraph. We do not call for the aid of any other light to see the very sun that illumines all the objects in the world, because the sun itself is illumination complete. To understand, realize, and experience the self, the illuminating light in all our experiences. In fact, in all beings at all times, no other light is necessary, because this self alone is the real, and this self alone lights up the knowledge of the entire creation, known and unknown. This self is the all-awareing consciousness absolute. So the sun doesn't require any other light to illumine itself. It itself is illuminating light. Anyone wants to share, please unmute and share. If we remove the furniture, etc., from the presence of the life does not cease to exist. Similarly, even if all the objects in this world, if all our experiences in the waking, dream, and deep sleep states have ended, even then the awareness shall keep on shining as ever before, because the Atman is eternal and self-effulgent. To know this source of all light, no other light is necessary. The outer world of objects is illumined as long as I am extrovert. The moment I turn inward and my attention is introvert, I realize that light alone is the real one, which illumines the entire experiences everywhere, not only in my own bosom, but in the entire world of beings. Whatever be the technique which we adopt, we are bound to realize this reality if we faithfully follow the path laid down by the learned sages and experienced seers. It is so nice. I will read once again. The outer world of objects is illumined as long as I am extrovert. The moment I turn inward and my attention is introvert, I realize that that light alone is the real one which illumines the entire experiences everywhere, not only in my own bosom, but in the entire world of beings. Whatever be the technique which we adopt, we are bound to realize this reality if we faithfully follow the path laid down by the learned sages and experienced seers. So beautiful. Once we become antarmukhi, then we are able to realize that there is only one light which is illumining the whole jagat. It is so much in line with what we are doing in our dhyana yoga. Whatever technique, if we do the adoption of those techniques faithfully and turn inward, introvert, that is antarmukhi, then definitely we realize that it is that one illumining super consciousness which is illuminating the whole jagat. The intellect cannot comprehend the one homogeneous whole because it is not an object of cognition. With a telescope, I cannot see myself. I can only see other objects in front of me and round about me. Similarly, so long as the intellect is there, it is indeed very useful to discriminate, to reason out, to analyze, and to understand the objects and happenings in a field other than the intellect itself. Now, when we try to understand the transcendental truth with that limited intellect in an objective way, the intellect is only trying to achieve the impossible and the impracticable, as the self is the subject that illumines the very intellect itself. It is very beautiful. Please, I'm trying to read again. Please pay attention. The intellect cannot comprehend the one homogeneous whole because it is not an object of cognition. Here, the capital it is that one homogeneous whole Swamiji is referring. With a telescope, I, that big eye, cannot see myself. I can only see other objects in front of me and round about me. Similarly, so long as the intellect is there, it is indeed very useful to discriminate, to reason out, to analyze, and to understand the objects and happenings in a field other than the intellect itself. Now, when we try to understand the transcendental truth with that limited intellect in an objective way, the intellect is only trying to achieve the impossible and the impracticable, as the self is the subject that illumines the very intellect itself. I think there are the usage of many big words. As we read further, it will be clearer. If anyone can explain it in a simple way, kindly unmute and explain. The gross body is an object of experience. The subtle mind is something separate from and subtler than this gross equipment. The intellect is still subtler, and yet even this also is an object experienced by us. When we thus move more and more into the inward chambers in ourselves, we almost reach the subtlest of the thought existence. the intellectual field for the play of our ideas and ideologies, such as I know, I understand, etc. When these thought waves sleep down, when there is nothing for the consciousness to illumine at that rare and sacred moment, the pure consciousness alone remains illumining itself as a silent street lamp at midnight stands illumining itself. So beautiful. I will read this
Can you
paragraph.
finish reading the next paragraph also? Then we can.
Okay, okay. In terms of the familiar analogy of the dreamer is none other than the waker. As the dreamer himself, when he wakes up from his dream, rediscovers himself to be the waker, so too in the supreme plan of self-awareness and bliss, when all duality has ended therein, when I remain in my own real nature to understand, realize, and experience that bliss of self, Swarupananda, no other illumination is necessary. It is a question of one awakening oneself to that state of God consciousness, the selfhood. It is such a
I think
wow.
here the how this Atma is combined in the three states, right? It's really explaining how it illuminates the gross body, and during the wakeful state, it combines with the gross body, and that when it sees everything outside, that's part. Yeah, gross body is the object of experience. And then the second, the dream state, where the subtle body, where the dream is happening, it's a projection of what we saw in the experience in the wakeful state is being projected. Even that state, the Atma is combined with the subtle body in that state. Because it is there always, on all three states, Atma is there as the illuminating object. And then the night, what is the third one is the dream state, and the deep sleep state where it combines with the causal body, where everything is quiet down and there is no duality, no other ego, and everything else is sleeping. No sorrow or none of that. So that part also where it illuminates itself. So that's where it's saying it's a silent street lamp at midnight stands illuminating itself. So then it's a familiar analogy of the dream. The dreamer is none other than the waker. So basically, it exists in all three states and above that as well, like Turiya state. So that I remind my own real nature to understand, realize, experience. So it is a witness of all these three states.
Yes, Jagrat Swapna.
Swapna Sushupta.
Yeah.
No other illumination is
In all
necessary.
other, yes,
Mhm.
beautiful.
Is this what was explained in the Tattparya? The what do you call that? That the sloka. Can you go back and read that summary?
Yeah, the chapter 6.
No. No, for the same, this you read the whole description, right?
Yeah,
For the sloka and what they said about it.
yeah. Like it doesn't require any other lamp. It itself is self-illuminating.
Swabodha,
I will
yeah.
just
Okay.
yeah.
Lighted
Yeah.
lamp does not. Okay, this is about the parts. Didn't you read about the parts here? Or I'm forgetting this one. Oh, yeah. Okay, got it. It doesn't need another lamp to light it. Okay.
Yeah, to illumine its light.
Yeah, so Atma is a knowledge, needs no other knowledge to know it. Hmm. So the
So
last
it itself
paragraph.
is, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, the last is a takeaway of the whole. And for this, understanding this, I think chapter 6, Bhagwan has given all the techniques, the means for like prayer, meditation, how to go that antarmukhi, how to become antarmukhi. In Atma Sanyam Yoga. I think we can stop here,
Yeah,
or
when
if
you read
anyone.
about the extrovert, introvert, and all that, it said you read somewhere in the beginning, right?
Yeah,
I'm only talk.
antarmukhi.
Yeah, okay, correct.
Yeah. The moment you turn inward, you are able to hear the outer world of objects is illumined as long as I am extrovert. The moment I turn inward and my attention is introvert, I realize that that light alone is the real. I mean, when we keep on negating, right, that I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, then that light alone is the real. That is the only reality which illumines the entire world of experiences around us. Not only in us, but in the entire creation.
Yeah, that is the comparison. Like, so the part I said about that is only pertaining to the one human being, right? And then if you apply that the whole consciousness as for the whole universe, that's where they call it as like virat, like during the wakeful state, like it's just that and then the dreamer state is something called Shranekarbha or something like that. I don't remember exactly all the words I and then the chit consciousness. I think the Turiya state is Ananda. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turiya state is that real bliss. And here, this line also has to be understood very well, that the intellect cannot comprehend the one homogeneous whole because it is not an object of cognition. You cannot comprehend.
That's the knowledge, right?
Yes,
That's the
yes,
intellect
yes,
is
yes.
not going to find it
Able
out
to
by
come, yes,
itself. Yeah. Mm.
yes. Should we stop here for Manna? If you want to read anything before we go to the 30th verse, tomorrow I think we can go, no? It is time. So we will close our eyes. If you want me to read anything once again before we for Manana, please let me know. All verses are very, very important since sadhaks and in that journey.
In fact, Nanaji was saying, should by heart all this. And when you're cleaning
Yes.
your, closet and all, or folding clothes, that time you should chant, all this, sing beautifully. Yes.
Yeah. So we will close our eyes for a few seconds and then we will try to share. Jai Gurudev. kindly share your takeaways. My suggestion is that should we take that sixth chapter, what Brahmaraji told yesterday? Brahmaraji, are you there? Should I read that sixth chapter?
Yes, Bela. I think we can do a bit of manana on the Atmabodha that was just finished.
Yeah,
Maybe 5
okay.
minutes, and then we'll go to the sixth chapter.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Jai Gurudev. We read in Atmabodha that the buddhi, that the intellect, it is the cognition faculty. Like it is the faculty which determines what is right and wrong, which is to be done or not to be done. Like the analytical power the intellect has, and in this we are reading that intellect cannot comprehend the one homogeneous whole because it is not an object of cognition. So it is to be considered like homogeneous whole. Could not follow this, like it's somewhat confusing.
I think, I mean, in terms
not
of
an object
Atma,
of
it's it's a subject, right? So you cannot make it as an object. So that intellect, perceive this as an object, it won't be able to see it. That
So intellect only helps in perceiving the knowledge, like it helps.
I read once again.
it reflects it. That's what
The paragraph, the intellect cannot comprehend the one homogeneous whole because it is not an object of cognition. Though we read in Atmabodha that the intellect, the buddhi, it is the cognition faculty. It has that analytical quality. But here we are reading that it is not an object of cognition.
It is only to say that it is not like it is not outside of you. No, it is you. There is the very fact that the intellect is because of this. If you remove
intellect is like sorry, Dr.
yeah, go ahead.
Mind and intellect is based on the perception that we are getting through the organs of perception, through your senses. So whatever you are getting, that's why it is combined as a subtle body, So if you think about that, what do you call that? The cosmic form of God, where Arjuna couldn't see the
Vishwarupa
Vishwarupa
Darshan.
for darshana of Krishna, because it needs that special vision or whatever that in that aspect. It's a whole consciousness that if you're going to see that consciousness exists in me, is exist in everything in the whole universe, whether it's living, non-living, movable, immovable. You think of each and everything, the consciousness exists. So that whole thing, if you see it as an object, I think that that's my understanding. You can't use it as object of cognition. It's more like that awareness of that consciousness as a whole, like that's a total homogeneous whole. That's what I feel that was explained here. Go ahead, Dr. Brahmraj. That just came to my mind before it slips.
No, that's fine. It is like everything is an object of perception. You can see your gross body, then you go a little deeper, your mind, you're aware of the thoughts in the mind. Similarly, you're also aware of the discrimination that is happening that is based in the intellect. And then you can also, you're aware also of your ego. So all these are like objects, and therefore you're able to perceive them separately. But what is that one thing with which all this is actually happening? That shloka that I think we read 2 days back about Rajavat Sada. It is the Atma is like the king sitting in the Darbar hall. It's just a witness to everything. So because there is such a fine line of distinction as we get deeper and deeper into the subtle layers, we are not able to make out that distinction. Bela, can you just go scroll this page up a little bit?
Read the second paragraph, like where it
in the
says
second,
the gross body. Oh, you're scrolling up. I thought you're going
that
down.
is too much to, oh no, I thought, no.
Can I say a small thing?
Yes, go ahead, Sumaji. You go up a little bit, yeah, Bela. After this.
This is what I gather. Like the intellect is the instrument for cognition. Now, this cognition, this intellect is given that energy or given that power by this Atma or witness consciousness. And that is not, it does not come under the cognition of that intellect. This is my understanding. It cannot come under the purview of that cognition of that limited intellect, because it is the one that is illuminating even the intellect. So therefore, it is definitely something vast and bigger and beyond comprehension. And this homogeneous whole, this is, I don't know if it's really it's a correct example, but when we say, I am not just my hand, but I am a whole body with so many parts, and in this body alone, and then there's the mind, the subtle body, and the causal body. You don't even know your causal body. So this whole thing is the homogeneous you. So definitely it is beyond comprehension. This is the way I settle in my mind.
In Atmabodha, if you read it, where the gross body, like the witness, especially those 3 states when they explain the waking state, dream state, and the deep sleep state, they even give separate name for it. Like gross body connected with Atma is called, I don't know, it's called Atma, but there is some other name for it that they given there.
Taijasa.
No, the gross body is a Visva, and
Vishwa.
Taijasa is the dream
Taijasa.
state.
And Prajna.
And
Yeah.
Prajna is the causal body state. So causal, along with causal body, it is ignorant. There is a ignorance there, but then still this Atma is illuminating in that state, and that's where you feel that you slept well, and you feel good, that state, because that's the only thing there in this Atma is witnessing in that state. Above that state is where the Turiyam comes, that it's only Atma. So if you read this paragraph, the gross body is an object of experience.
Yeah,
They
I think
put
we will
everything
just
as
read
an
that
object
paragraph
experience.
one more time. The gross body is an object of experience. The subtle mind is something separate from and subtler than this gross equipment. The intellect is still subtler, and yet even this also is an object experienced by us. When we thus move more and more into the inward chambers in ourselves, we almost reach the subtlest of the thought existence, the intellectual field for the play of our ideas and ideologies, such as I know, I understand, etc. When these thought waves sleep down, when there is nothing for the consciousness to illumine at that rare and sacred moment, the pure consciousness alone remains, illumining itself as a silent street lamp at midnight, stands illumining itself. So I think we will stop at this. Let this sink in today. We will halt Atmabodh here. So I think it is just dying down of even that identification. I know, I understand. In that deeper levels, what remains is just the light of consciousness, where even that vritti jnana, that aham brahmasmi, that also settles down, and what remains is just that one Advaita. Belaji, we can share the Bhagavad Gita. While she's doing that, Suma, you had some doubt yesterday. If you still remember the doubt, you can probably express it while Bela gets the PDF ready.
Yeah, it is about to meditate on the Atma. No? So what is that? How do you do it? But just by saying Aham Brahmasmi and all those Brahma Vakyas, when it is not in your experience, just by saying it, is that what you do? Meditating on the Atma, or what is it?
Hariom, may I say just a
Yeah,
line?
go ahead.
Here in the whole Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan is giving more emphasis on meditator more. How we can acquire those qualities, qualifications. I think in the chapter 6 is the right chapter to dive into, with each verse so beautifully told by Bhagwan. I think as we will go ahead with this, no, if we remain at that achalam sthiram, the first line, no, it is not just like straight, but if we remain steady with samam kaya shiro grivam dhayan achalam sthira, it is not only the body's stillness here Bhagwan is talking about, even with mind. If that stability is there, then definitely. Brahmaraji, please explain.
Yeah, I think, see, all these that we're reading now in Atmabodha, these are all the beautiful attributes of the Atma. So when we're talking of meditating on the Atma, it is just bringing into our awareness the Satchidananda aspect. Actually speaking, once like what Bela said, when you sit still, sit steady, not just physically, not just your physical body, also your mind and the turbulent, the turbulent, the agitations in the mind are also settled, then automatically you are in that seat of contemplation. And with this knowledge of the qualities, the attributes of Atma, when you bring that into your awareness, that is, I would think, is meditating upon the Atma, that Matchitta, Matparaha. You're reveling in that. Yeah, go ahead. I think someone was saying something.
Didi, as a beginner, we can go through Niranjan Dhyan. That is really beautiful. It will after doing it, we can, जैसे आपने बताया, you just told ना, तो I think to start with, we can go through the guided meditation of Niranjan Dhyan, and then beautifully, as you said, we can go by ourselves, like the way you explained.
We have
Here they
too
given
many, excuse me, we have too many tools actually. Any tool, we have to use it and see ourselves how we are absorbed in it, you know. That Matvara has to come on your own. It has to. You have to experience it yourself. That cannot be told as you do like this, you do this first, you do that first. It has to be experienced. You have to sit, you have to do that, you are doing everything correctly. Automatically it happens. You know. That Matchitta and Matparaha, wonderful it is. You do it by japa, you do it by meditation, you do it by sahas, you do it by many things. Or you combine all and do it. There's no one procedure we can say. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev, like what all we were reading since 6 chapters we are done. So all these is like it is helping in meditation. What state we were in few years back, it has improved because we are evolving with the knowledge, with the practice, and with our own the vyavara, the discipline. That all things are improving. Like the sanyam which we put on ourselves regarding the sleep, the food, the type of activities we are involved, then that utkarsh feeling you have, that you have to attain that moksha, that feeling of progressing on this path, that joy that you want to achieve, that pushes you, and with that faith in your mind that you don't doubt you are on the right track, you have shraddha in the Vedanta as well in the Guru, and you don't be in a like the pramada state. You are not in that lazy this thing. You don't get into all these activities which leads to pramada, like the enjoyments, like that. It's like the disciplining ourselves, and of course with the dispassion and abhyasa, all these things slowly they will help in deepening your meditation. And when your meditation deepens, that at that stage you are your thoughts become less and you are with yourself, and that is where that you are dwelling on your consciousness or atma or ishvara. You can call anything, because that's, though it comes for a very small time, like maybe few seconds only, but that is the time when you are with that Satchitanand state. But it is a very fraction of a, maybe it's a fraction of time. But all these things, when we are on this path, we are doing everything. The main thing is that you have to be with an alert mind, watching everything what you are doing. And it's not that you'll suddenly sit and you want to dwell on the Atma. You can't do, because the mind is unsteady, and initially the body would be not in that state that it can sit for an hour or 2 hours, you can meditate. Until unless everything is worked upon, it is not possible to dwell on Atma.
Very beautifully described, Dr. Savita. So the preparation is what is important. And yeah, I think we'll read on. Bela, are you able to read?
Yes, Brahmaraji. We completed, I think Vigata Bihi started, right? Or before that?
I think we have to read from that part.
We
Vigata
stopped,
Bihi,
I
right?
think emphasis throughout Gita is on the meditator, that we did yesterday, no?
Okay. Okay, yeah, that we read. Even if Shanti Bhagwan is talking, that
We
also
finished
we
that
read.
also. Yeah, then
Yeah,
go after that, yeah.
Here, like,
Mm.
so I'll just read one takeaway because it is with the Prashant Atma is one who has lived a life of Karma Yoga, who has taken care of his or her Raga Dveshas, and is therefore no longer pressurized by them. Please remember the word Prashant Atma. Such a person is free from fear, Vigata Bihi. There are many varieties of fear. The fear of death, for example, is said to be a very common fear for some people in the seat of meditation. When the body is as relaxed as it is in meditation, we generally go to sleep and there is no fear because there is nobody to be afraid of. But when the body is relaxed and you do not go to sleep, there may be a feeling of going out of the body, which may give rise to the fear of death if what is happening is not properly understood. The physical relaxation itself is as though you are going out of this body. Then the entire internal defense system sends out an alarm and the person experiences fear. Dissolution of the doer is really resolution. No matter how old you are, there is a fear in giving up the body, even though you know you have to give it up one day. However, what is involved here is the dissolution of the doer, the karta. This means the very subject, the meditator, is resolved, which is a kind of suicide. And because the person does not want to dissolve himself or herself, there is fear. In fact, there is no dissolution. There is only resolution. The resolving of the ahankara is also false because the ahankara is Atma, but Atma is not ahankara. In contemplation, the ahankara, the meditator, naturally resolves into Atma. This is so beautiful. It is like you are resolving in that supreme consciousness. You feel scared because you feel separate. Arjuna got scared because he did not see himself as a part of that Vishwarupa. That is why. And so here Swamiji is trying to say that even while meditating, if you do not sleep, but you feel going out of the body and you feel scared that you will be dead since you are out of your physical gross body. But once you realize that ekatvam with the super consciousness, that you are a part of this whole jagat, then that fear also goes away. You will just feel that bliss that you are that Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. So you are, there is no kartritva bhavana at that time. You feel scared because you feel duality.
One thing, I don't know how much, we are not going to be sitting there for hours and hours. But what I heard, even the Sagaj is limited to 20 minutes because when you're meditating, obviously your respiration, the pulse, everything comes down. So they don't want you to be like meditating at least initial stages until you figure it out, how your body is functioning and all that. So that's one thing I thought I'll mention it.
Yeah, if meditation is just, if it happens, then, I mean, it should be effortless. Yeah, so the level of consciousness, we have to feel that ekatvam. If we have that ekatvam feeling, then we will not be scared. Should I read ahead?
Yeah, I think we can do one more paragraph, no?
Yeah.
1 or 2 paras, yeah.
So that ahankara is also Atma. Remember that word? The source of fear, meditator is Atma, the meditated is Atma, and the attempt is meditation. If the attempt is successful, the meditator is gone, having resolved into Atma. Therefore, the means and the end become one and the same. The meditator resolves into the very object of meditation as he or she attempts meditation. This is the situation that some people are afraid of because they feel they are being decimated or destroyed. Thus, some people see fear where there is no fear at all. They feel as though something is going to disappear and they retain it. In fact, the retention of the ahankara is the only source of fear there is. the ahankara itself being the source of fear. If the ahankara does not want to quit, naturally there will be some fear. This fear then is due to avichara, a lack of inquiry alone. A person who inquires is free from fear and is called vigata bihi here. It's a very beautiful word. We can remember it throughout the day today. Vigata bihi, prashanta mana.
And avichara, lack of inquiry.
Yes.
So that inquiry is what this knowledge gives us. All this Shastra Jnana.
And the final takeaway, that at level of consciousness, ekatvam, level of mind, samatvam, and when you are in the field of your Kurukshetra, Karma Kshetra, that time you have to remain asangatvam, as Brahmaraji had mentioned, detachment. And the flowers of Indriya Nigraha we have to offer to Lord.
Very beautiful.
Could you please repeat the last thing? Sangatvam, Samatvam, and Asangatvam I understood. Samatvam I understood.
Ekatvam, samatvam, and asangatvam, detachment.
Okay. So Ekatvam is when you're meditating, right?
Yeah, one with that Ananta.
Okay.
At conscious level, ekatvam. At
Uh-huh.
mind level, samatvam. That everything, the whole creation, there is one only. Samabhuta. All beings are having that one pulsating life force.
Mm.
And at activity level, when we are doing the karma yoga, at activity level, that asangatvam, that I'm detached from everything.
Mm.
I'm not the doer. And the flowers of Indriya Nigraha we should offer to the Lord.
Thank you.
Very nice note to end today. We'll continue tomorrow. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. Hari Om.
Jai Gurudev. Beautiful
Gurudev.
session. Thank you.